Marfoogle TV going live in 3, 2.
I'm not gonna be the guy standing around. Reach to the window, glass to the ground. I'm not gonna be the guy standing around. Reach to the window, glass to the ground. I'm not gonna be the guy standing around. This revolution won't be televised. Better open up.
All right. What is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. So we've got a lot to go into over a short amount of time, so let's get right into it. First of all, Danish Prime Minister says that U.S. takeover of Greenland would mark the end of NATO. Remember that, of course, the Danish actually control Greenland. Greenland only has a population of 50,000, but it has become extremely important, especially to the U.S., because of its positioning. Now, if you're not familiar with the geography of this, the U.S. and specifically the President Trump has said that we want this Greenland because of the strategic importance of it for missile defense and for other reasons. I'm sure that there's minerals, there's probably, something for lithium batteries in the future there. Who knows? But he has even been asked by reporters and would not rule out using force to take Greenland. Now, why this is really important right now is because essentially we took Maduro from the presidential palace with Delta Force or whoever ended up going in there and doing it, did a huge operation, didn't lose a single person, didn't lose a single ship. In less than 2 hours, we are now in control of Venezuela oil. So you're talking about Greenland, which doesn't have much of a defense other than a guy going, hey, don't. Yeah, and they're saying that if something like this does happen, that it's the end of NATO, and many of the other NATO countries are saying the same. There was a comment on the last video when we were talking about Maduro and the confusion. People are saying that, the country is behind him. Some are saying that now they're cheering because he's, taken out. They're reporting that a lot of the government still backs Maduro. Some are saying that they were just totally ready to dump him. Somebody essentially said, as far as Maduro goes, and all of this, that everybody is looking at this and that every country is begging for the U.S. to just give him back, that there's multiple countries out there saying, hey, this is wrong, put him back. I don't know if that's true, again, but that is pretty nuts. The division of this subject about Venezuela, in my opinion, I think that Trump just took aim at an actual plan to start World War III and to surpass the U.S. as number one. It's a complicated thing, and I'm not going to explain it to the new people, but I believe that Venezuela was a red herring for, of course, China, and that all of these countries were doing different bidding, and it is all tied to the Belt and Road Initiative. It's all tied to China, their cyber campaigns against the U.S., and, of course, their physical campaigns against the U.S. They were planning something massive. We're going to talk about Taiwan tonight. There's massive events happening right now with Taiwan. China is essentially saying that they look at what just happened with Venezuela and they say this is a template. So we're going to go over that in just a second. Blackbird, I will get to you in a second. Thank you so much from Australia. Thank you so much for the support. And Jan Turner 7, thank you for sending out 10 gifted badges. We'll be back in just a second, right after this.
Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
I'm not gonna be the guy standing around. Reach to the window, flash to the ground. I'm not gonna be the guy standing around. Reach to the window, flash to the ground. I'm not gonna be the guy standing around. Reach to the window, flash to the ground. I'm not gonna be the guy standing around. This revolution won't be dead.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam A.K. Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. We're going to quickly bring in my co-internet brother, Dex James, but he is not going to be sticking around for long. He's got some stuff in the morning to do. Dex, my brosif, what is going on, and how are you doing tonight?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine, but yeah, I can't hang out long. I can't hang out at all, guys. I apologize, but I do have a very important thing early in the morning, and I got to be up in less than 5 hours now.
So before you
clock's ticking on me.
Before you go, the whole day of news. We've both went over all of the news. Is there anything important that like the old TV shows used to have like a lesson like at the end? Go, well, now I understand. We don't judge a book by its cover. Is there something you learned today that you could bestow on us from today's news?
I would say the one thing I would take from and it's not just today, it's what's happened in the last few days, everything with the Maduro thing, is that, it is possible that there are big changes and big swings of the bat. It's been proven now. We've seen, I think we saw a large swing of a bat at Iran. When we bombed the nuclear facility, we saw a very huge swing of the bat with Maduro. And if you didn't think that the United States government was, capable of doing anything, because we just haven't really been in that mode for many, many years, some could say for quite a long time. I think the questions I would ask is like, what's next? Because like, this is what we're starting this year off with. What's the rest of the year going to look like as it relates to, what's coming from our own government? And when I say that, I really mean Trump, because he's pretty much the man doing anything at the moment. Not to belittle those that work for him, but it also questions like what may or may not happen within our government too, and if they're willing to swing such a big stick at Maduro, what other big sticks are they willing to swing? So yeah, that's what I've taken away from this. I don't say I'm re-energized, because I don't really like major conflicts like this, but at the same time, it's a lot better than just the same old, and of the other likings where we just seem to not go anywhere as a country and give away freedoms and give away money and give away power to the rest of the world, and just diminish what America used to be. So, but maybe I am being too Trumpish.
And that's what is interesting, is that sometimes we are on the opposite spectrum. Most things we agree on, but the great part about this show is that we have both left and right in the audience, that we have both. I'm not left, but I grew up in Seattle, so there's things that I am left on. I grew up around Seattle. But I am very, very right leaning. I would consider myself a 1960s liberal, because I grew up with my aunt and uncle as my guardians, and they would consider themselves 1960s liberal. So conservative on a lot of things. But obviously being around so much stuff, you just get used to it. But we've looked at this stuff for now 5, 6, 7 years, and it's just like it is very, very clear what is happening here is just a big cluster beep. I don't have a beep button. I used to, but it is bad. Well, Dex, thank you so much for joining us. And then
absolutely,
on your way out, if you can look at the up next, I put it in there. Yep. And then I think we got all the links on the website that we need. And then, good night. And thank you so much.
Much love, everybody. Yeah. Have a great show.
Not the end of the show, just the beginning. We're going to go into a lot. So thank you again, Blackbird, let's get into the support before the show even started. Blackbird 970, thank you so much. Good day from Tasmania. Thank you. And I don't know why I always do the dang the accent. Good day from Tasmania. I'm not trying to make funny. I don't know why. The good day, I always do that. Anyways, see, that maybe that's a Seattle thing. What am I afraid I'm going to offend you? Good day. It's Australian. Like, Australians don't give a crap. Well, Tasmanians, I'm sure, don't either. Okay, so Jan Turner, thank you for gifting out 10 badges. Thank you, everybody that made it to tonight's show. And thank you for all of the people that just would not let go that the both thumbnails. It is so funny. I was just being lazy today because usually I use a much smaller version, but I literally, you will see there's 2 identical thumbnails. I just changed the words. So everybody's being, oh, you're so strong. Do you want to arm wrestle? I'm never using that image again. But either way, thank you guys, and I appreciate the heckling. All right, let's get back into the news. We have Cuba says 32 Cuban officers were killed in U.S. operation in Venezuela. So this is nuts. And Dex mentioned this earlier on the news show. All of the bodyguards that were around Maduro were Cuban. And his view on it, and I only say his view because I have not read enough as far as literature about the actual event when they went in and they took out all these Cuban bodyguards. He seems to believe that is because Venezuelans he doesn't trust Venezuelans. Maduro didn't trust Venezuelans to protect him because Venezuelans hate him. At least this is the kind of going notion. It may not be Dex's view, but it's kind of what people are thinking. And that the Cubans were actually the bodyguards because of the ties that they have with Cuba and all of the kind of backdoor stuff that's going on with Cuba. He trusted Cubans more than he did with Venezuelans. And obviously there's some super ties there with Cuba. Mind you, they were a big deliverer of oil to Cuba, and Cuba obviously separated from most of the world. This is going to have a huge impact. And here's where I come in. I believe that Cuba was part of a plan, and I'm going to show you a map here. Cuba was part of this huge plan to attack the United States, and this is crazy. I'll say this. This is parody. This is, what do you call it? For entertainment purposes only. It is whatever that other word that the Y-Files uses. Either way, but this is my real theory. I believe that all of these places had operations going, and they still do, I'm sure. Cuba, I've been following for many years. Cuba had a very weird story quite a while back where they basically voted, or I don't know how they do that, but they essentially approved up to 200 Russian tourists to come to Cuba in a year, right? And I said, well, that's a pretty easy way to get 200,000 military, Russian military there, and nobody would even bat an eyelash. Like, why 200,000? Why whatever? Cuba has also, we've covered this, there are not only Chinese buildings being put up, possible training grounds, but spy technology being put up in Cuba by Russia and China. So this again ties back to the country in the East, right? To Xi. And if you don't know the whole thing, and if you're new here, it gets complicated. I'm not going to go through all of it. Ask people in the chat. People will be more than willing to explain. They're very awesome down there. But essentially, all of the countries that had something to do with people coming into our country over the last 4 years, a lot of the people in our government over the last 4 years, it had been infiltrated, that people were on the payroll. People have, politicians that have, pockets worth $80 million, but their salary is $250,000 a year. It doesn't make sense. It didn't make sense to let people into our country to invite them in, to not check their background when they got here, to essentially guarantee if you did get caught, then you would go, oh, talk to this specialist, and then we're probably going to let you go, and then we're going to give you a court date, which is probably backed up 5 years anyways. And then you go off in the country, and if you don't show up to your court date, then, well, you go to one of the sanctuary states where they're not going to ask you where you're from. And as long as you keep a low profile, you don't commit any crimes, you don't do anything stupid, you could stay there indefinitely almost. Well, as far as the regular people that came up for a better life, there was tons of those. But Moonraker years ago got video footage of, units of 20, 30, 40, 18 to 25-year-old military age men coming up through our border. Not only that, Moonraker went down the line, and this is something I just talked about with the Nick Shirley video that's being clipped. It was actually a year-old video that it was clipped and put on YouTube, and everybody's talking about it right now. And that was Nick Shirley on a podcast essentially saying that all of the Chinese immigrants did not go to the facilities or to the shelters that everybody else did. They also had instructions given to them for every step of the way, all the way into America, to get from Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, and I'm not going to be able to quote all of them, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, up through Mexico and into the country, what to do, what step-by-step process, how to get into the United States, how to be low-key. It gave instructions on basically, leave things better than you found them. Don't do fires, this and that. Once you get there, you'll be able to do this, this, and that. And there were a couple things that were thrown into that list. These instructions were not only given to all of these people, but these instructions were placed along the way at different hotels, different establishments, and all of these establishments not only had English, but had dual, not Spanish. Remember, these places are all in these in Mexico, Guatemala, Nicaragua, all those, but in Chinese. So they had a whole route. This is organized. Moonraker got this whole thing. Now everybody's talking about this. We've talked about this for years. I talked about it before that, and it was just a hunch. It was a hunch because, and most of you had the same hunch. When we saw the news and the convoys coming up right after we invited them up, we're like, well, couldn't bad guys be in there too? I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to say that not all of these are good people that are just trying to, find a better life. People yelled, oh, they're going to take all of our jobs. I was more worried about the 10 out of every 100 that could try to take our lives. So when it comes back to Cuba, this is all full circle. Cuba and everything that just happened in Venezuela, this all has stuff to do with each other. This is all connected. Venezuela was super unexpected as far as actually going in and doing this before they moved the Navy into place. But as soon as they named it Southern Spear, one of the only other operations that was called Neptune Spear was taking out Osama bin Laden. Right when we found out that moving the Navy down there was Southern Spear, I said, they're going to take out Maduro. And you're probably like, well, all of the news did. Media all said, oh, they might try to take out Maduro. Well, from day one, I said that and many others did because we're not stupid. We can Google the operation name of taking out bin Laden, and then you look, if was there any famous spear operations that the military did? Oh yeah, Neptune Spear. What is this one called? Southern Spear. Neptune? Southern. It was the same op. Only this one was done way, way faster and way, way better. We now have Maduro in New York. He just did an arraignment today. And he says, I'm not guilty. And you supposedly have countries saying, put him back, begging for him to be back released and put it back into his country. And now you have, of course, Cuba that's not going to get their oil. You have the president saying we're going to run Venezuela. I mean, who thought they were going to wake up to all of this? I knew. I called that we were going to wake up one day and Maduro was going to be on a U.S. boat. You can go back to my quote before anybody else was saying that. But I did not expect us to say, we're going to run Venezuela for the time being. This is nuts. This is news from a prepper standpoint. And I hope that everybody is in the same boat, including my mods. Like, I hope we're all prepping right now. Like, this is crazy. And this is bad months after Christmas. Like, this makes me want to go out and get more stuff. And I'm pretty sure most of you should be along those lines too. Because the timeline, I don't think it changed. It got rearranged. But I think that the president just directly went after the plan to go after the United States. And he went for the root of all of the South American debauchery that was going on, and the root of the very, very black market stuff that was going on. They're going after the drugs, not because they care about the people in Walmart parking lots. They're going after the drugs because it's black market money that was funding cartels, getting man pads and different systems, and buying U.S. military gear from, say, Iran and different places in the Middle East that just had our stuff left over, $700 million worth of gear. Do you know where a lot of that stuff ended up? In Mexican cartels, in Venezuelan cartels, in Colombian cartels. Now they've got military gear from our own arsenal, and they're right on our southern border. That's crazy to me. So this is so tied in together, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of independent media that called this out way before the media. The fact that 32 Cuban officers were taken out is just nuts. And then Iran's Khamenei has an escape plan to flee to Moscow if regime falls amid protests. So you can obviously see how close these countries are right now. This is because they are depending on each other for this plan that they have. And this plan is not like this is an impulsive thing. This is not an improv plan. This is a plan that they're thinking out decades in the future. They're talking about, what happens when the US dollar collapses? Well, they have already been working on that. They've been working on gold-backed currencies, digital currencies. They've been working on this BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. All of this is being worked on for them to have their own alliance, their own systems after the U.S. falls. And again, they're very confident, right? And you're probably saying, the U.S. ain't going to fall. Again, this Venezuelan operation actually gave me hope. Like this, everybody says I'm all doom and gloom. I thought this Venezuelan thing might have just saved our ass. And for the people that hate the president, they're going to say, oh, you're an idiot. I don't care. I think that every action from the ICE going to sanctuary cities to the National Guard on the streets, when there was also corresponding rumors of coordinated attacks across the United States coming out of open source intelligence, ISIS attacks and all these lone wolf attacks happening in not only our country, but in Europe. I think that all of this is connected to something that was going to happen, that was going to be a very quick, we're going to wake up one morning, the lights are going to be off, our internet is going to be down, and China is going to try to delay the United States military up to 48 to 72 hours. They're going to take Taiwan. And once they take it, it will be up to the U.S. to go to war with China to try to take it back, or say, oh, they got it. And that's exactly the war games that they're playing out right now. In 80% of these war games, the U.S. loses Taiwan. I like how the headlines say 80% of these war games, the U.S. loses. It loses Taiwan. But down the road, we do lose. If China takes Taiwan, they will own that giant chunk of the ocean on top of everything else that they are almost at parity with us at, as hard as that is to admit for some. Whether they're even close now, in 5-10 years, unless we've got some secret gravitic technology that we don't know about, that's going to all of a sudden change the world and turn us into a Star Trek Type 0 civilization, unless we have that in our sleeves, Our own government is saying that China is going to pounce up on us in just a few years. And that's scary. Look at what the world is like with the U.S. being number one. Everybody has their complaints, and I'm sure everybody has some sort of family tie to somebody that lived in a country that was affected by the U.S.'s meddling. When people don't like the U.S., they go, oh, they don't have any, reason to be over there. They don't have any reason to be over here. The U.S. has done regime changes. The U.S. can take people out, make it look like a heart attack, and then have a perfect placement of somebody right there waiting in the eaves. Heck, go look up the 2014 audio of Mr. Zelensky being chosen. Okay? So all of this is connected to a long-term thing that's been going on. And what is really crazy is I think that his ego would not let President Donald, I think maybe his ego is so big that he does not want his legacy to have anything to do with the downfall of the United States. Because he cares after he dies that his name is on every golden building and that people really respected him. I don't know what happened to him when he was a kid. I do know that he does care about his legacy. And in my opinion, that's a good thing. Especially right now when there are countries trying to take over our country. They're dividing us with, of course, every cyber and physical campaign that they possibly can. And if you don't think that that's true, then I believe that your eyes may be closed for a lot of what's going on right now. Iran's Khamenei has an escape plan to go to Moscow. This is pretty nuts. And it again says the plan called Plan B, no joke. He's going to call Vlad and go, hey, can I make an appointment? Do I have to put my name? Or can it be anonymous? Oh, I don't need ID? Oh, cool. Well, do I have to talk to you? Oh, I don't have to answer any questions. Okay, I'll come in. All right. Yeah. Well, no, I just wanted to talk about escape plan. Plan B, by the British report, would include 86-year-old Khamenei and 20 close people, including family and aides, would be going to Russia. And it says the supreme leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, reportedly has an escape plan that involves fleeing to Russia if the current nationwide protests continue to intensify, British newspaper The Times reported on Sunday. If you don't think that these protests are connected to the U.S., then I think you are smoking something. There was a leaked central bank letter, and I'm wondering, I can't do it live, if that was being shared as it was verified, but I didn't personally verify it. But that letter essentially was preparing the banks of Iran for a complete system crash, to save and back up all data of all of the bank stuff. When you see something like that, a country may just collapse. And if you think that these massive, massive protests in Iran are not connected to the U.S. CIA or something else, then I would say you're tripping. So right now, at the same time as Venezuela, at the same time as Cuba's getting screwed, the Iran right now is going through all of this hell. Not to mention they say that their refrigerators are empty. They don't have water. Tehran itself, their capital city, had no water because of a drought, which if you've done your research and if you're in this community, you may just believe that maybe the U.S. has some crazy stuff that nobody knows about, like the president always talks about. We've got stuff nobody has ever seen in their life that may contribute to something like that. If you don't believe in manipulation like that, I would highly recommend going and looking at treaties that the world has back in 1979 with each other to not basically use the earth as a WMD. So yeah, this is some freaky stuff right now. The protests that are going on in Khamenei, we might actually wake up one morning and Khamenei is in Russia or in protection or in something else. Does that knock out another of their alliance? And mind you, it's looking like the adversarial alliance is breaking up. But if you've been following our show, you'll realize Danish are saying that they can't even trust us right now. You've got Germany saying that we don't trust them. you've got our NATO alliance on thin ice and our president saying we're backing out of it. And he goes, you know why too? In 5-6 years, the people that originally signed those NATO agreements, they may not be the same people in 10 years from now that will even have the same morals or principles that originally signed the NATO agreements back when they started it. Basically, he's saying their culture is changing so much that you'll have people in charge in almost everywhere. You'll have a majority of people there that are not from there that will not go along with the status quo. So he's backing out. What I see is exactly what I said. If we spread our military thin, China sees an opportunity to take us out. I said that the plan was to split our military, and then look at what is happening. 2 years after, I've been saying it every day, they go, oh, we're going to pull all of our guys back, and we're telling Europe, you have to deal with it yourself. And of course, the media conveys this as, oh, the president's just, oh, America, we only care about us people, and we only care about us Americans. When really, they're looking at information, they're looking at war games, they're saying, we have to. Europe has to spend more money. They went to Europe, they said, hey, you have to. Look at our war games. We all lose if we lose. We all die if we die. So they all ponied up their 5%, and they all started building up massively. They all started recruiting. They're all doing it. Go look up contracts every single day. What is happening? And they're breakneck speed. By 2026, by the end of 2026, you've got like 4,000 contracts for huge things going out. And if you don't follow the show, I believe by late 2026, if this didn't stop it, that China is going to take Taiwan. And that is going to be a massive deal, because if the U.S. is involved or anywhere near it, they're not. So we have very little time here. Everything is connected here, and it's getting crazier by the day. Before we move on, make sure to go check out EMP Shield. In fact, this not only helps, we're so deep down the rabbit hole at this point. Just so you guys know, people think, oh, we say this stuff to scare people and to get views. They used to say that, but then our Discord got taken down by basically the U.S. government. They froze it, even though Dex nor I shared anything on it. We just had 50 state rooms for 50 states for them to meet up in person and talk about prep and stories. They took that down. I'm pointing this out because people think we do all of this for views and for money. We're not. The same affiliates we've had for years, almost everybody here has one. But we are recommending to the few that don't, because these we believe will save lives. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. That will kick us back a small commission, and it will get you $50 off per device. And right now, it's basically an extension of the Black Friday, and we've just kept saying it. I believe they're extending it because ourselves and a couple other affiliates are actually trying to keep this going as long as possible. The 25% off, because that's 25% off plus our $50 off discount on a device that will protect your car and allow it to run after a massive EMP hits the country. It will also run. It will ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your car from a backpack device or a solar event, a Carrington level event. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to use the code MARF. But yeah, if you think we're rolling in it, you guys have watched this channel. The people that have been here that are members for 2, 3, 4 years and have been here way longer than that, you see it just going down. And it's because we're talking about a certain country, and that certain country owns huge chunks of everything. Meanwhile, others can talk about the V's, they can talk about CV, they can talk about pretty much any subject in the world, get just top of the algorithm. They can talk trash about the platform, and they're just at the top of their games. Millions of subscribers. That doesn't make sense to me. we say the wrong word, we're put in timeout. So really question, who's the shill and who's not. And I don't think anybody at my level or even near me is a shill either. Even the ones that call me a shill, I don't think they're shills. I think that people are just jealous on YouTube of each other and everybody hates everybody. But right now, what we should be paying attention to is the messaging that's given to us. The U.S. government had virtually no representation in the independent media in our field, like our community. Our community is very special because we're the watchers, right? I think we've been infiltrated, and I'm not going to say who. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but I think we've been infiltrated, and I honestly think that people really, really need to pay attention. I never talk trash about any other creators, but I will say this. Pay attention. This next year is going to get crazy. And I hope that you guys do check out our affiliates. It helps us out. It helps us financially get by. All right. China's social media hails U.S. Maduro move as a Taiwan template. Before we get into this, I want to go over Mike Allen. What is that? Mike Allen Dwayne. You stiff. WIS Gen, we've got author Lori Ann Smith, we've got Sean CTX, Stealth Mode in the house, we've got Funny Doers International, Tartan, Granny Jane, thank you for being here, Tree Hookers. What mods do we have here? Thank you so much, Bobby Sue. Thank you again, Bobby Sue, for modding. Ilea says, I have to go. Good night, Foogle fam. Good night, Ilea, and I hope I see you tomorrow. D. Griffin, Rob Mills. We have, of course, Drops Homestead in the house. We've got Rosemary Griffin, Firefrost. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Brian Loves Bacon says, America. Exactly. Blackbird, Jan Turner, again, thank you for hitting 12 months. Be sure to hit that thumbs up for Marf. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So check this out. Now China's looking at this entire thing, and they're essentially stating that they're looking at this as a template for them to take Taiwan. If you really think about it, if the U.S. can go in and take out Maduro in this way, very similar, this is something where they have indictments on Maduro. If you didn't know, China has indictments on some of the folks in the Taiwanese government as well, because they consider them being separate illegal. So what they now can do, according to some, is say, hey, America did it, or America did it, and they can essentially go in, do some sort of crazy op, take out the president, take out the people, the 10 people underneath, and say, hey, these guys were illegally separated from our country. We had indictments on them forever. We can pull them back to China, mainland China, and we're going to run, and we're going to control the chips. We're going to control the natural resources here, and we're going to control the actual waterways. The waterways where a third of all stuff of the world goes through. Trump's operation against Venezuelan strongman shot to the top of China's Weibo late Saturday, with the topic gaining some 440 million views on the X-like platform. Many commentators were quick to make comparisons between the fate of the South American nation and that of the self-ruled democracy Beijing has vowed to claim. It says, I suggest using the same method to reclaim Taiwan in the future, one user said to reply in a post with more than 700 likes. Since the U.S. doesn't take international law seriously, why should we care about it? The U.S. imperialist lightning raid on Venezuela to capture Maduro and his wife provides a perfect blueprint for our military to launch a surprise attack on Frog Island and seize Lei Ching-ti, wrote another. China's foreign ministry urged the U.S. to release Maduro and his wife and ensure their safety. The raid on Venezuela violates international law and basic norms governing international relations, as well as the principles of the UN Charter. Remember, they're doing an emergency meeting of the UN, and they're basically saying that this was necessary. Who knows what's being said in the backdoor meetings about why they're actually doing it. I don't think there's going to be anything from this. Nobody's going to slap them on the hand and go, put him back. Put him back in his hamster cage. Nope. This hamster's gone. His name is Houdini, and he gets out all the time. President Xi Jinping has stepped up military pressure around Taiwan, most recently by conducting live-fire drills around the island, exercises that Trump downplayed. Beijing has refrained from using violence, however, preferring coercion tactics coupled with a diplomatic drive to isolate Taipei on the world stage. The outpouring of nationalist sentiment in China doesn't mean China or Xi will change the strategy towards Taiwan, one of the biggest flashpoints between the world's largest economies. But Trump's strike could give Beijing space to ramp up military aggression in its own backyard. It says, I don't expect today's events in Venezuela will dramatically shift Beijing's calculus on Taiwan. Ryan Hass, a former U.S. diplomat, says, Beijing hasn't refrained from kinetic or other actions on Taiwan out of deference of international law and norms. Privately, I expect Beijing will emphasize to Washington that it expects to be given the same latitude for great power exemptions to the international law that the U.S. takes for itself. We benefit off of Taiwan, and if China takes it, then this would be a massive deal. Well, China benefited from Venezuela, and we just went in and took out their head guy. And, I mean, you heard the president himself. He says, oh, and I don't think Xi will have a problem. If he wants to still buy oil, we'll still sell it to him. We, as in the U.S., American companies, they'll be tied into this whole system that's already working with the Venezuelan oil. So, yeah, there is a lot of comparisons here. And I don't know if I'm not, this isn't my prediction. This is what other people are saying. My gut says that we need to keep watching, and that very well could happen. But we need to be watching the entire big picture, and we should be more worried about the tit for tat, the attacks against each other, the operations that are done that are not, declared as attacks on each other. And we really have to watch in the next year for what happens in the South China Sea and what happens with Iran, North Korea, and all of this. We're going to talk about that here in a second. We're going to talk about Trump warns acting Venezuelan leader will pay a big price if she doesn't cooperate. We went over that on news. I'll go over that. That'll be super quick. We'll move on. Inquiring Minds, I think you guys are awesome. I appreciate you and all the people in the chat and the Fooglers. Hey, thank you, Inquiring Minds, and thank you for the massive support. Again, you don't have to do that. It is much appreciated. Drops Homestead, which has been here for so long. It's insane. Drops Homestead, thank you for gifting out 10 badges. It's crazy. I won't go over the history of like everything, but yeah. I think you would be one to tell people, like, you had your you had your reservations about us, and it just took a couple years to just fall into place. Callie M71, thank you so much for the support. I really do appreciate that. Thank you. I'm going to change the battery here. Let's go into this. In fact, I'll just play this for a second. I don't have a Dex to fall back on. I gotta change the battery. It'll take me about 45 seconds.
This revolution won't be televised. Bricks to the window, glass to the ground. I'm not gonna be the guy standing around. Bricks to the window, glass to the ground. I'm not gonna be the guy standing around. Bricks to the window, glass to the ground. I'm not gonna be the guy standing around. Bricks to the window, glass to the ground. I'm not gonna be the guy standing around. Bricks to the window, glass to the ground. I'm not gonna be the guy standing around. Bricks to the window, glass to the ground. I'm not gonna be the guy standing around. Bricks to the window, glass to the ground. I'm not gonna be the guy standing around. Bricks to the window, glass to the ground. I'm not gonna be the guy standing around. Bricks to the window, glass to the ground. I'm not gonna be the guy standing around. Bricks to the revolution won't be televised.
All right. Now that we got that out of the way, the president warns acting Venezuelan leader will pay a big price. Okay, so we have a big stick over her as well. There's indictments on her. She supposedly has said that she still supports Maduro, but she's going to play ball because Delta Force could be in her bedroom next. So the thing that they're doing with everybody that is still in charge, the VP, now president, interim, the same thing. They're basically saying, hey, if you don't do exactly what we say and let us do what we need to do, then you're going to be in a courthouse in New York. You're going to be on the Iwo Jima by midnight, right? That's exactly what's happening here. So, many after the initial press conference thought he made it sound like, oh, well, we have control. And he has just like that crazy optimism of a salesman. He's like, oh, yeah, they all hate him. The second we walked in, they're like, Maduro, we hate Maduro. Oh, yeah, Maduro. Oh, yeah, you want to take him? Oh, yeah. I'm going to drop my guns because I hate the guy. In fact, we all hate him. Everybody in the entire country hates him. Those people holding flags, they got weapons to their backs. They don't want to be doing that. But in the messaging, they're saying that all of these people actually do support Maduro. I have questioned everything that we have been taught. If you're a watcher, then you know we've been lied to our entire lives. In fact, I mentioned a video, and I'm not saying that this is the Venezuelan case, but there's a movie that has not The Rock, John Cena, the Chinese apologist. Oh, I'm so sorry. John Cena is in this movie where they have, he's a bodyguard for this reporter that goes and talks to a dictator. And in this movie, if you guys can drop the name in the chat if you've seen that, it's relatively new, last year. They go and talk to this dictator, and the dictator's totally like a Venezuelan leader. Like, it's kind of crazy because it looks like it's a Venezuelan like story there. And he dresses in all white suits, and he totally dresses like the typical like dictator. Gold this, gold that. They kind of mixed Putin with Hugo Chavez with Maduro in that movie for that guy, and George Clooney, because the guy's like super handsome, right? Well, that movie had one of those, like, oh, what's the moral of the story? Don't judge a book by its cover. The moral of it was that you start to like the dictator and realize that it's the U.S. Imperialism that's trying to take the battery technology out of their fictional country, or whatever country it was. Basically, the dictator wanted to keep. I mean, this is Venezuela. Like, did people not realize this was like straight up like pulled out of the real book? They tried to take out the dictator in this movie, and they basically say that he's this bad guy. Well, in reality, he wants to keep the battery technology. He's a good guy. The people love him in his country, and he wants to keep that battery technology for lithium and all of that, which in the movie it's a realistic thing. And the U.S. wants to give it to American companies and basically take the money outside of the country. So people don't like that. And that made me wonder. And I'm not saying that this is the case, but doesn't that kind of stuff make you question, like, what is true? There's obviously stuff that makes us question, and you have to question it. Like when Tucker went shopping in Russia and said, for $100, I can shop and get everything I want. Around the same time that Russia was reaching out to Americans and saying, hey, if you don't like living in the woke world, you can come to Russia. Well, you know what happened to a lot of those people that went, right? They got citizenship, and then the men of the families got literally put right onto the front lines against Ukraine. So yeah, not everything is what it's supposed to look like, right? Well, for this, it makes me wonder, like, what is the deal with this whole thing? Like, just hypothetically, we want America to rule the world, but what if these people all over the place putting their paid-for messages that, communism works, China's great, they're the most advanced, country in the world, and everybody's happy in China. Hypothetically, what if they were right? Psych. But I do wonder about the South American countries, these countries that essentially took bailouts and money from China And what if they are just trying to like keep their money with their country? And then people go, no, you idiot. They privatized the oil, and the government and the cronies and these other countries and these elites, they took all the money from the country. That's why they had this massive inflation, this and that. Well, the more you look into it, there's been a lot of crazy things in Venezuela, like that massive power outage that hit the whole country. They suspected U.S. for that. Like, there's been a lot of back and forth. You wonder how much of this is because of not playing ball with the U.S., not, being part of the system. We saw during 2019, the 5 or 6 leaders that did not have their country part of that network of everybody needed to be a part of this plan. We saw adversaries and allies alike all jump on this plan during 2019. The 5 countries that didn't and said, we're not going to have our people do this experiment, those leaders mysteriously perished, or perished of natural causes, or perished of, bullet to the back and fell off a 15-story building, but we listed it as heart attack. It makes you wonder. Just saying. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Again, thank you, Inquiring Minds. Awesome support. Callie drops. Thank you. What do you guys, did you guys see that movie? And I don't remember what they said. Yeah, Dex has to go. He has important stuff. I don't, it's not my business to put, but it's nothing you guys would care about. He just had to wake up really early. We both have daytime jobs. So again, sometimes my time zone was 8 o'clock when we started. That's like, what is that, 11 when we started? If he did a full show, sometimes he's up until 1 a.m. And before you feel bad for Dex, I used to do midnight shows Pacific time, like every night. In fact, most of my audience was East Coast people that woke up in the morning. I haven't done solo show in years. Me and Dex, even if I'm sick as a dog, I usually do a show. The only time I don't is if it's something with my kid, one of my kids, if my kid's in the hospital or if I'm in the hospital. Otherwise, I'm on this show 5 days a week, 5 days a week, 7 days a week, 5 days a week, and some weekends. And so is Dex. So, it's weird not to have him here. So if you don't want to listen to my rant, too bad. That's what you get tonight. In fact, half of my rants, Dex is the guy who, so I'm the one who is super suspicious. Dex usually weighs me down and goes, I don't think that could be true. And I think it's a good partnership because sometimes he'll have a logical fact that goes, no, that can't be. And then sometimes I surprise him and I get him on certain things and he's like, whoa, actually you're right. But yeah, I'm actually excited about tonight too, because we can just hang out and I'm not worried about going until 1 a.m. or whatever and keeping Dex up. I also have time to tell you guys about, I'm going to try to get my brother-in-law in here. He's super funny. He is a watcher as well, but sometimes he's not even intentionally funny. I'm going to try to have him in the studio, and I'm going to have him kind of be like just a one-day Robin to what Howard Stern was, right? He's going to sit across. So that's going to be fun. We have all sorts of stuff for the New Year resolution. I want to get on earlier, and most of that is because East Coasters, if I'm not going on at midnight or 1 o'clock a.m., well, the East Coast people aren't waking up and drinking their coffee before work anymore and watching us. And the West Coast people, it might be okay, but the East Coast people, it's too late. So we're going to try to go a couple hours earlier this year. And here's the catch. I have 4 kids. So we're trying to rearrange things so we can do this. It was never possible before we moved to this new house. So again, I think that this time we have a good chance of actually doing it. So yeah, it's odd not having Dex here to like be like, no, I think you're wrong. Walls, Democrats, if you guys did not see the Nick Shirley video, which by the way, I just mentioned Nick Shirley's video from last year is getting put all over the place, and mostly because Nick Shirley is huge right now. If you don't know who Nick Shirley is, Nick Shirley did a video investigating the Somali daycares. The Somali daycares, essentially a gentleman came to Nick Shirley, this channel, and I'll pull him up real quick. Maybe we'll even have it on our website. But Nick Shirley let this gentleman have essentially a voice with a platform. This gentleman had put together information that all of these Somali daycares were in some sort of government loophole where they were getting money. You physically go to the daycare and they were empty. There was nothing there. They were boarded up windows. But on paper, they were getting tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands. In some cases, it's just the epitome of scandal. And these places were all closed. They looped around, and then the scary thing is they found that it might even have implications that it was a kickback scheme to possible politicians or possible people that kind of let it happen. So much so, whether there's no evidence yet, but it looks so bad that Tim Walz just resigned and is not going to look for a third term. When this happens in your state, in Michigan, you're kind of the butthole of the country right now. It's a huge video. I'll show you millions and millions of views in just a few days. I investigated Minnesota's billion-dollar fraud scandal. This is the video. Again, go check it out. That's Nick Shirley. And he has a gentleman that goes through all the data, and this sent shockwaves. This is independent journalism for you. Whether you, some people said like they don't like some of other Nick Shirley stuff. Either way, Nick Shirley has a platform. He chose to platform this gentleman, and it made a huge difference, and it exposed some huge stuff. This is awesome. This is what I aspire to. Not to be called Shirley, but to definitely make a difference, right? So this happened. Now Tim Walz drops his bid for a third term as Minnesota governor. They're finding that in all of these other states, you guys were pointing out the other night that in my state, in Washington, there's like 500 of these places that it could potentially have this kind of fraud going on. If there is any evidence that this is a big kickback scheme and that politicians were making millions and millions of dollars, it would be just one more thing since 2019 that would give motive to why there was so much coordination. And because remember, people who said, oh, so you're saying every country in the world is like nudge and they're all in on it. Remember those people? The quadruple septuplet, those people. Well, if there's millions and millions of dollars, bills that get signed, billions, trillions of dollars going out because of aid, because of how much that thing affected you in multiple countries, and you have an agenda to not only give that money, but to basically set the balance of the money off in the direction you want it to go. So if you want to change the culture of a place or even sabotage that place, you would essentially Robin Hood the place, right? Give to the rich, take from the rich and give to the poor. But in this case, it was give to the rich, or give to the poor and give to the poor. They're just rearranging the actual makeup of the countries to screw with them and to cause chaos. That's my opinion. This Nick Shirley thing is absolutely crazy. Mind you, there's another video I just talked about over on news, and I'll show you this right here, that is now somewhat kind of re-viral again, which is this clip. This wasn't even on his show. It was on Julian Dory clips. And Julian Dory actually clipped this just 3 days ago. But this interview was from last year. And that's because more and more people are finding out what we as a community have been talking about this entire time. That they had a separate system for the Chinese immigrants, that they were not going to the facilities or the shelters. They weren't going to single tents. They were going like, oh, here's your ride. All of a sudden a car picks them up, and then they're most likely at a farmhouse across the street from a base. Pretty freaky. Go watch this video. We linked this over on marfooglenews.com. In fact, it's on the news episode. And so is Kevin Dahlgren, who I mentioned earlier. That is the gentleman who has gone to Seattle. He's mostly in Portland, basically looking at how the homeless situation is and how absolutely disgusting it is. By the way, if anybody knows Kevin Dahlgren, I would love to have him on the show. Heck, I would even have, he's in Seattle. Somebody get a hold of Kevin Dahlgren. Tell him to come on the show. Dude, he's in Seattle now. I would love to go meet up with this guy. In fact, I even know of a couple places he might not know because he's from Portland. This is the guy I said that has been investigating and going around, and he really puts his ass on the line sometimes. I believe he is the one that went into the jungle. It's a place in Seattle where nobody goes. The cops don't go unless they have a SWAT team, because it's just so dangerous and so many people get taken out there. And somebody commented that Philly's worse in this place. I'm not saying Seattle's the worst. I'm saying I have personal experience with all of this stuff from Colombia, Venezuela, this Feni, the stuff that's making people look like, the Thriller video. It has destroyed my city. It has destroyed places that my friends and my family have lived. If you go to 125th in Lake City, it used to have businesses. Go there now. Go there on Google Earth. If they have an updated picture, it's pretty scary. You have a guy with an outside living room set up outside of a Walgreens where the overhang is. Usually you park, and if it's raining, you go over the underhang and you go into Walgreens. He has his house set up with dressers, beds, a TV, a power generator, all of that. And it's been there for a while. I don't know if it's still there, but it was there for like months. Graffiti over everything. The banks closed, the CVS, the Walgreens, the restaurants, all of the local businesses. It basically died. Along with Seattle and all of these other places that are just getting totally wiped out. So yeah, if anybody knows Kevin or talks to Kevin, tell him I would love to meet up with him. I would meet up with him tomorrow if he would. All right. And then thank you so much, Nick Shirley for governor of Minnesota. Anna Roy. Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate the support. And I haven't seen too much of his stuff yet. I've seen tons of Kevin stuff, but I'm just getting into the Nick Shirley stuff. But Nick Shirley's saying what we were saying years ago too. Nick Shirley was ahead of the curve. People should have been listening back then, but they didn't. And then, the president is saying that Ukraine didn't target Putin residents. So Dex and I have talked about this, how it's gone back and forth, and that it's like a love fest for Ukraine. And then it's like, oh, Putin, they need to, get their stuff together and give up their land. And then it's like, oh, we'll back them up until, the very end. And then it's like, oh, well, we need you to do this by this day, or, we're going to stop supporting you altogether. Now he's back on the Zelensky train, and he's stating that with their U.S. intelligence, that essentially Putin's BSing, that Ukraine never attacked the Kremlin or the residents of Putin. So he's saying with their all-seeing eye that they didn't do that. I mentioned this the other day when other countries were saying, well, we'll wait until we'll see what U.S. says about like what happened here. And I mentioned it's just so ironic that everybody, the whole world, essentially knows that the U.S. sees everything. That no other country their ops, any kind of missile they launch, any kind of operation they do, there's no operation that the U.S. doesn't know what happens. It's the same reason many people believe that we can't be defeated, because we're in the know about everything. But I just wonder, I wonder if this is actually true, or if this is some sort of like, purposeful message. If Putin knows that Ukraine did do it, and the president says our intelligence says it didn't, then that's kind of like a tongue-in-cheek, like, yeah, well, you better watch out too. We just took out Venezuela. We've got protest in Iran. We're doing all of these different, Cuba's screwed now. Just watch out, buddy. I don't know what this is, and maybe it's because they genuinely said, they have information that they didn't attack. President Donald Trump on Sunday told the reporters that the U.S. officials have determined that Ukraine did not target a residence belonging to a Russian President Vladimir Putin in a drone attack last week, disputing Kremlin claims that Trump had initially greeted with deep concern. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said last week Ukraine launched a wave of drones at Putin's state residence in the northwestern Novgorod region that the Russian defense systems were able to defeat. Lavrov also criticized Kiev for launching the attack at a moment of intensive negotiations. So it very well is possible that Russia was just trying to sabotage their own negotiations. I told you all of these negotiations are BS because it's not up to Russia. It's up to Iran, China, North Korea, Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela, Colombia, Honduras, the list goes on. And South Africa, because they are in this big plan to try to take the U.S. off of the top block. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And nights like this makes me miss the calls. Before we move on, make sure to go check out Energy. This is where, again, we believe in this product. This is one of the best solar generators out on the market. Somebody questioned the other night if I have one. I have two Flex originals, the Flex 1500s, and I have one tactical. One of them I did get. The two I did get for free. That was because I'm an affiliate, so they actually sent me the one in this video. Mine has the temporary stickers you see in this video. And I will tell you this, mine is no different than yours, except for yours has the new American batteries. Anybody that orders this they moved all of their batteries to manufacturing in the U.S. because now they have this huge, massive contract for the U.S. Army. The U.S. Army required very specific specifications. Before, it was a badass generator, but China has this huge monopoly on a lot of these components. So it doesn't matter who makes it. There were components that were tied into China. You wanted a generator that was front loaded in the U.S. so you know that China didn't put software in it or somebody else. But now it was a big move because it's very expensive to do this. They moved the manufacturing of the batteries to the United States. What's cool about this is the last batch of these. There's only a couple left, under 10 now. These have the new American batteries without the new American price. The price is going to go up because of the wages. Obviously, it's American wages. They're paying American workers. It's awesome for us, right? But it is the new batteries with the old price. It is modular. It's got a steel reinforced frame, and it is unlimited power. If you go get yourself some cheap solar panels, you can get fancy solar panels, but if you go get some Amazon solar panels, boom, put it on there, you will actually have power going into this thing, and you'll have stored power all the time. Or when we have power and we have a grid, you can plug it into the wall and fast charge it. And it's incredibly fast to charge all the way up, a 1,000 milliamp battery. Again, they even have mods that allows you to charge it faster from the wall. They have superchargers. They also have a mod that can allow you to even take 3 times the amount of solar panels. So go check it out, marfooglenews.com/energy. Make sure to use the code Marfoogle. This thing is built. I know this thing is going to last longer than me. These things are going to be rolling around in, Fallout times. You're going to see, Lucy McLean sitting on one of these in Fallout, because these things are badass and they're made like things used to be. All right. And then we've got J.D. Vance's home was broken into. So this is pretty wild. The first thing I thought, I would love to go over to the chat. What did you guys think when you saw this? The same day that the U.S. president says your house wasn't hit, J.D. Vance's home was broken into? Isn't this kind of weird? What do you guys think? I'm going to go over to the chat here and I'm going to pull it up. In fact, I'll turn this on so you guys can see it too. Is there any angle I'm missing? I feel like, if his house was just broken into, some guy threw a baseball through it and tried to break in. An intruder has smashed the windows of J.D. Vance's home during an incident overnight. A man was detained after the alleged break-in at the vice president's residence in Cincinnati, Ohio. O-H-I-O. Secret Service agents alerted police at 12:15 a.m. after seeing someone running from the home. A police source told Fox 19 Now, Mr. Vance, whose main residence is in Washington, D.C., flew to his 5-bedroom home in his home state of Ohio after the U.S. operation in Venezuela to capture Nicolas Maduro, the dictator. Police were at the house for several hours on Sunday night, going in and out of the building. And it says Mr. Vance was not at the home at the time of the incident, according to a local news site. He spent several days there, but left on Sunday afternoon. City officials had announced road closures surrounding this home and set up checkpoints from December 29th until January 4th. Wait, city officials had announced road closures surrounding his home and set up checkpoints until January 4th. So from December 29th to January 4th. When did this actually happen? Why did they shut it down for 5 days? If they had the guy, was the guy a legit attacker? And what do you guys think about this? I find it pretty weird. Am I missing something? The guy looks like a 16-year-old. The first thing I thought of when you're breaking windows, me and my friend Chad took a high-powered BB gun and rudely and super assholely shot out the local Karen. This is before cell phones and all that. And this woman had set up one of those giant VCR cameras to watch all the kids walking by her house. She was at a T in the neighborhood, and the main school was right down the street, so every kid walked by. She wasn't like a weirdo, but she was. She wasn't trying to watch the kids. She was watching the kids, thinking they were always into trouble. We ended up pop-shotting and taking out a couple of her little tiny square windows. Now, as an adult, knowing what a pain in the butt to fix that kind of thing is, I feel horrible. But that's what I thought when I saw this home break-in, right? Is there something I'm missing? Why, if it was a 16-year-old guy, why would they close it down for 5 days? Marf did a BB drive-by? No, I don't even think I had a bike. No, I definitely had a bike, but we didn't do a bike drive. No, we would run. This was probably 10 houses away from my house. I was an idiot. My friend Chad, by the way, is one of the most square, nice, innocent people now, and basically he got his first job and just turned into a great guy. But yeah, we were and we did horrible things. It hit mailboxes, took mail once, birthday card, and we both felt bad and cried. It was stupid. Jan Turner, those look like bullets. I remember I was 13. Callie, Kate Brown, what the heck? I missed the whole show. I'm so late. Kate Brown, that's okay. I hope you rewind it. We're down Dex. He had to wake up in 5 hours. Marf, we're living in the Twilight Zone. Yes, we are. Chris 7, Brooke, Dr. Huru. My eyes are getting sleepy. Well, go ahead and go to sleep. Let me get to the most important part here before you do. So U.S. spy jet circling Mexico coast as Trump threatens Venezuela-style military attack. I'm not going to make a prediction on this because now I'm very, very confused. This attack, it didn't catch me off guard. As you guys know, I said one of these days, one of these mornings, I believed that they were going to go after Maduro. The Southern Spear label, when they first went down there, I absolutely said this is a repeat of Neptune Spear when they took out Osama bin Laden. They even were dumb. Like, they didn't think anybody could Google the famous operations. And that's what it was. But I was actually surprised they did it. I said one morning we're going to wake up and Maduro's going to be on a U.S. Navy boat. I didn't expect it to be that accurate. A lot of people did, right? They at least thought of the idea that this could happen because of what kind of drills and practices they were doing and what we've done in the past with leaders they didn't want. Saddam Hussein and Gaddafi and Osama bin Laden. But when they did it and that fast and just like that effortlessly, that blew me away. Yeah. So I don't know what the deal with this is. U.S. spy jet circles Mexico, and they're, obviously he's got fighting words. Our president with Colombia's Petri, and he says that Sheinbaum's not going to control their cartels. So what the hell's going to happen? I think it's all tied in. If you want to stop the stuff coming into our country, how would you stop it without dealing with Mexico? It doesn't matter how much Venezuela makes. It has to physically either go by boat or it has to go through land through Mexico. And most of it comes through land. So how would you, this whole thing, taking a leader out of the presidential palace, how would you do that and not do something to Mexico, not do something to Colombia? Colombia being the heart of cocaine and everything else. What do you guys think is going to happen, and what are your predictions? And this is going to be, this very well could be become our community prediction. Really think hard. What do you guys think is going on with this Mexico situation? I need your extra brain power, because I'm super concerned about the world right now, but I'm also kind of thinking, was this a win? Did we just try to stop World War III? Is this? It looks like it's being successful. It's putting a lot of people in their place. I need to check the mail. Wait, maybe I don't care. We thought we were going to get rich or something. We took mail, and then it accidentally had a birthday card in it, and then we realized it was like a little kid's birthday card, even littler than us, and we were like, this is messed up. We never did it again. We did it one day around Christmas. We thought we were going to find hundreds of dollars or something, and our goal was to go down to Taco Bell and buy as many cups during the contest as we could to peel the stupid stickers off during Batman Forever and win a yacht. We were both very poor and thinking we were going to win the cup contest at Taco Bell and get a yacht and get away from our crappy families. WIS Jen, LOL, God have mercy on our souls. Laughed when you said you and your friend cried about the birthday card. Realized you were serious. Oh no, we were. Well, Chad will never admit that he cried, but I did. I felt horrible, and we didn't know which one it was in, so we didn't know how to put it back. And I think supposed to avoid that destruction. Our nation has too many traitors within its unsustainable, basically every day is a gift. Deliverance hope. Isn't it crazy? I honestly think, and I don't want to just point towards one leader here, right? Because I think there's, and it's not just two sides. It's not like these guys that go to the California campgrounds. I think it's all mixed in. I think it's all of these people are used to each other being opportunists, and all of them know about each other's deals. Like, I bet if just hypothetically, say JB is in a room with the JD Vance or something. So what if they both go to that summer camp in California where all the creepy elites go and watch a play and possibly sacrifice, lunch meat? Who knows? Say JB was paid $100 million during his run to look the other way on certain things, or to make certain decisions that would make it easier to destroy us, right? Hypothetically, this is how I think about a lot of these people at the upper echelons. Even the people that you are fans of, those people probably go to that campground and go, 100 mil? I would have done the same thing. Can I get in on this? I feel like all these people, and what do you call it? Oh, the capitalism, greedy people. It's people in general. People are nasty. Just like we were when we were 13 trying to get money, people are nasty. And I don't believe the left or the right. I think everybody is corrupt. If they've got multi-millions of dollars, I don't hate them because they're millionaires. Because there's lots of awesome millionaires that have businesses that support our communities. And let's be frank, most of you probably wouldn't have a job if there wasn't some sort of millionaire involved that started that company. I hate the millionaires that got it in the most secretive and unfair ways possible, like insider trading and turning a blind eye while people came into our country, with them knowing that these people are not just trying to look for a better life, but are actually setting up bases and potential attacks on the United States. Hypothetically, parody, all for entertainment, right? What do you guys think? I think it's a great comment. Pallets of dollars moving around Venezuela. Apophis, that sounds like something you saw, like pictures on Twitter. I might have missed that, so please send it to me. Hit me up on Twitter if there's things going around. Reminds me of what was that not too long ago? Oh, Syria. Oh man, we haven't talked about this. I'll just bring it up real quick, and then we're almost done here. Let me see. Syria pictures. Let's see. This was another prediction that nobody cares about. Like, most of the Fugel fam realized that we called this. I'm dumb, but I saw the pattern with Syria and Turkey and all of the stuff that was going on there. And I'm telling you, all of you guys can predict all of this same stuff too. I don't claim I'm special. I know you guys hate when I say, well, I told you guys so. I believe it's once you see these certain patterns, it's not like the Matrix or something. It's really easy. Like, they treat us as we're super dumb, and something that we were trained in since we were a kid to just believe the headlines if they're from the suit and tie guy. People believe it even though their brain should be telling them, like, wait, he's saying that, but that's not true. Like the news anchor going, we're in the biggest storm of a lifetime. And there's a guy walking behind in shorts just like creaming by when they're supposedly 5 feet deep in water. It's all a big pony show. It's a dog and pony show. And we're all trained to go, oh, well, he's got a mic and it's got KCNAF on it, so we believe him. Once you stop believing these mainstream medias, and not to say like, oh, the groundhog came out of the hole, I don't believe it. No. It's, if they say something, question it. Is there any other connection to anything else? Look at this. Syria pictures of central bank getting raided. This is so crazy. There were people walking down the street. Look at this. Imagine this. Now, I don't know if that money's worth anything after what happened. Which, by the way, do they just straight up have like vertical TikTok money with like dudes with huge mustaches on it? Because it's not that much different from ours. In fact, look at that. Do they have like shadow faces on their money? But if you remember when this was going on, Syria, that was an op. That was a tit for tat. That was like, these are regime changes. Bashar al-Assad, I called this one. I mean, we knew. And you know why? Media kept talking about Bashar al-Assad. They just kept talking and talking and talking. And they kept putting this, what if this happens to Bashar al-Assad? Most of the times they tell you what they're going to do. But then they also put out an article saying that can never happen. If they plant the seed enough and then they say, well, you know, hypothetically, this guy could do it. Even if that guy didn't do it, they can make a country look like they're the bad guy or the people if they just mention it enough time in advance and just keep saying it. As the Nazis used to say, I think it was Goebbels, if you tell a big enough lie, if you tell it over and over and over, people will believe it. And that's, I'm paraphrasing, but that's human psychology. People believe it. Make sure to go check out Jace if you haven't already. This is a very, very simple service where you can get a kit of all of the most commonly prescribed antibiotics. I'm sure there's a lot of you out there that have had a situation where somebody's sick and you're like, oh, now we've got to go to the ER to get antibiotics. Like, oh, it's not going away. Or, oh, this is infected. Well, here's the thing. Going through Jace's case and Jace, this is something where, like, what if the roads are down? What if there's a storm? What if there's a levee break? You know, what if there's a fire and you can't access the ER? You can't access the pharmacy. That's where Jace comes in handy. I also would say, if you've been following us, if you realize what the situation with China is right now, China makes 90% of all of our active pharmaceutical ingredients, and they make 97% of all of our active pharmaceutical ingredients. They make 90% of all of our antibiotics. Somebody commented the other day and said, well, I don't want to take them. They're made in China. Now, they're under strict watch. Like, they're super, super monitored. They've been making them for a long time. Why did we let our adversary make one of the most crucial things in our country and we have to have shipped all the time? I don't know. But that's why I recommend having this on hand. You go through a very short telehealth appointment with a board-certified doctor. It's really quick. It's really easy. He's not going to go, why do you want this? I got a full letter of somebody that was like, what if he asked me why I'm asking? You know, what if is he going to ask me if I'm a prepper? I'm like, no. They're super nice. They'll go, okay, what do you want? Here's the add-on list. What do you want from that? And then boom, it'll be like that. If you go, hey, can I get some crack cocaine too? He'll go, oh no, I got to call Columbia about that. No. They're just going to do the service they provide. It's very, very easy. It's a quick telehealth appointment. It's just like if you ever have been to urgent care online. Super easy. Marfooglenews.com/Jace. They also have another service too, and you can expand this. There's an add-on list of, like, you can get albuterol and other things. There's also Jace Daily. This is important for people that have family members that are possibly going to be, dependent on the horrible pharma. You can get up to a year's supply of their regular medication at Jace Daily. Go to marfooglenews.com/Jace, code MARF. And thank you guys for using the code MARF because it helps us out. It helps us financially survive. At the same time, it also gets you a big discount. So we can continue to be independent. Thank your mods. Thank Bobby Sue. Ilea was here earlier, and I appreciate she stayed as long as she did. Rosemary Griffin, she has stated she wants to do nude mud wrestling with Hillary Clinton on the White House lawn. Stephen McMahon, I'm going to make a bad decision. I'm going to show that just tonight. I'm feeling spicy. Our nation has too many traitors. Shastina, I was an angel growing up, stayed home to not get beat up in the hood. I was originally born in Yakima, Washington. Yakima is really bad. They call it the armpit of Washington, and it was very dangerous. It still is. That's where my dad was from. Yakima is actually bad. Like me comparing Seattle to, Detroit or Philly, I don't do that. But Yakima, I would say, at least back then, was super, super bad. There were cartels out there. It was bad. Rubicon says, thanks, mods. Jet Trinity Powers. If stuff helps, it helps. It's really quite easy to know. Hey, thank you. Bad imagery. The mud wrestling with Clinton. Yeah. Yakima dangerous. Okay, so people also say that Yakima had a nice area. And I haven't been there in 25 years. I still don't know where this. I know that they have what do you call it? Golf courses, and there's a rich part of Yakima. You haven't been to the poor side of town if you say Yakima is dangerous. They did have the worst murder rate in Washington certain years, and these were the years that I lived there. If you Google, just go look at a time frame of like what Yakima was like. And I'm not talking about the golf course part of it. People say Tacoma is also beautiful. And I think of the aroma in Tacoma, no offense. I have family in Tacoma as well. But I've never seen the nice part of Tacoma. Still. Kathy Paena, Fingerman, Spicy, Kimbria, thank you so much. Bobby Sue, thank you so much. An Indian, indigenous name. I watched cool boat racing over 47 years ago. What? To that person saying Yakima dangerous, what is Yakima like now? I haven't been since my dad died in 96. So if it got like really nice, I would love to go again. I want to visit my dad's grave at some point. If Dave is watching, Dave and Laura, I actually met. They watched the show, and they've become my like actual best friends. They stop by every time they're in Seattle. And we found that we both love Hot Wheels. Dave is awesome guy. You guys probably know him from chat. All right. You guys have a wonderful night. Thank you so much. Bobby Sue, have to do a shout-out tonight. Thank you so much, Inquiring Minds. I appreciate you. Make sure to go to the website. You have everything there, including a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document. Make sure to, of course, go support the mods by going over to their pages. Chance, I think you were here today. Either way, go support Chance. If you are into prepping, if you're into bunker basics, you should go check out what Chance is going on. And I'm sure Chance will always have, it's just keep checking on Chance because he is an author. So he's always creating. So go over and check out his Amazon link. He actually has books. I do not get it. I do not, what do you call it? There's no commission if you go buy an Amazon book from him. 100% of the proceeds, except for what goes to Amazon, goes to the mod Chance himself. And we wouldn't have it any other way. Jammer, thank you. Ripcroll Readiness, RGL Harris. And just wanted to pray. There was a couple Fugel family members that obviously some of you lost loved ones over Christmas. Some of you lost your parents. And I just want to say I'm saying a prayer for you tonight. I'm not going to call you out. Obviously, you know who you are, and most of the chat does too. So much love. And be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout-out. It's a shoutro. And we can do a roll call over on Jams. If you want to join, it's at your own risk. My music is horrible. Have a good night.
Standing around, reach to the window, flash to the ground. I'm not gonna be the guy standing around. Reach to the window, flash to the ground. I'm not gonna be the guy standing around. Reach to the window, flash to the ground. I'm not gonna be the guy standing around. Reach to the window. flash to the ground. I'm not gonna be the guy standing around. Bricks to the window, flash to the ground. I'm not gonna be the guy standing around. Bricks that open up. Oh, your eyes. This revolution won't be televised. Better open up. Oh, your eyes. This revolution won't be televised. Better open up. Oh, your eyes. Revolution won't be televised. Better open up. Oh, your eyes. This revolution won't be televised. Better open up. Oh, your eyes. This revolution won't be televised. Better open up. Oh, your eyes. This revolution won't be televised. Better open up. Oh, your eyes. This revolution won't be televised. Bricks to the window, flash to the ground. I'm not gonna be the guy standing around. Bricks to the window, flash to the ground. I'm not gonna be the guy standing around. Bricks to the window, flash to the ground. I'm not gonna be the guy standing around. Bricks to the window, flash to the ground. I'm not gonna be the guy standing around. Bricks to the window, flash to the ground. I'm not gonna be the guy standing around. Bricks to the window, flash to the ground. I'm not gonna be the guy standing around. Bricks to the window, flash to the ground. Never do, 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 never. Damn right, bricks this revolution won't be televised. Better open up, oh, your eyes. This revolution won't be televised. Better open up, oh, your eyes. This revolution won't be televised. Better open up, oh, your eyes. Bricks this revolution won't be televised. Bricks to the window, flash to the ground. I'm not gonna be the guy standing around. Bricks to the window.
All right, we're gonna